All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting our Take One, episode 1 with Max, Sports Journalism. This is the podcast, hashtag the. I'm joined by Max today. My name is John Fitz. This is our first official podcast, so bear with us. There might be some errors or there might be something that doesn't seem right. We're just getting started with this, but I'd like to introduce myself as John Fitz. I live here in Ames, Iowa. I'm good friends with Max, my guest, and Max, it's good to have you on the show.
Great.
What can you tell me about your history with sports?
I've been a sports writer since I was in junior high. I started writing sports for the local newspaper in Woodbine, Iowa, and I was sports editor of it in 4 years in high school, which was a good time to be sports editor because Woodbine had basketball teams that went to the state tournament at that time, and they had one of the premier girls athletic programs in the state of Iowa, particularly in track, and so I got to cover all that, state tournaments, all that, and I went to college at the University of Iowa. Didn't do much sports writing when I was in college. Got out, got a job with the Denison Bulletin.
Did you run track in high school?
No.
Did you play any sports in high school?
I did, but I quit when I was a junior because I knew that my future wasn't going to be in playing sports, it was going to be in writing about them. So I quit.
How young were you when you wrote your first article?
When I wrote my first article, probably 14, something
14.
like that.
Yeah, when I went to Ames High School, we moved around a bunch, and my senior year I ran a 4:33 mile at districts, and I got second place, and this ties in the energy drink fad was only all it had was the 5-hour energies. Have you heard of those before? My dad had given me a 5-hour energy before the race, and he's like, take this before you run. And I never was a caffeine guy, but I took this 5-hour energy. I dropped out of the race because I was shaking so bad. I just ran a 4:33 mile the week before.
What was your time again?
4:33.
4:33.
And that was in the 1600 meters. So a lot of people recognize, they run the 1500.
Yeah,
and
that's
the world record in the mile was just broken just a couple weeks ago for the first time. I think the record had held since like 19 by a Moroccan runner, but there was a British man who had taken down the record, and so
he ran a sub 4 minute mile, didn't he?
The world record is now 3:42, I think, and there was an American who got second who came really close, and he's a really young guy. So if you guys want to drop his names in the comments, we don't know who that is, but give a shout out to them, and then let's continue with your story. And so you didn't really do many sports during school, but then after you graduated, what was your first job?
Denison, Iowa, which is southwest Iowa.
And that's where Job Corps is located, is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great first job. I had never done sports photography before, but I had to learn how to do that as well as cover games, and so I drove around southwest Iowa covering all sports.
Yeah. Like we were talking about before, my family's from Villisca. Did you ever go there when you were younger?
I didn't know Villisca because of there was a state champion pole vaulter named Phil Wortman who pole vaulted, I think it was 14.7 back in the late 60s, which was the state record for a long time.
Wow.
So when I hear Villisca, I think of Phil Wortman. Other people think of the axe murders, but I think of...
Yeah, Villisca is famous for the axe murders. My mom grew up in Villisca, and my mom's mom, her mom. So my mom is born and raised in Villisca, Iowa. She went to Iowa State University. My mom's side of the family is big into agriculture. They were part of the Farmhouse Association at Iowa State. And then what had happened is that they had a couple people that the murder mystery's never been solved before. And we're actually taking some guys down there to go stay at the family farm here later this time. But just to get back on track a little bit, so then when did you kind of go from David? I introduced you as Max. My name is John Fitz, but people know me by Fitz. People know me by John. When did you transition to kind of introduce yourself as Max?
When I was in Denison, Iowa, I thought, Max sounds like people call me that anyway because my last name is McElwain, so friends would call me Mac or Max.
Maxwell or something.
And so I said, well, I'm going to make that my byline because it sounds like a sports writer.
Yeah.
So that happened pretty early on.
And then when would you say that you got a job and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Probably when I went from Denison, I went to Spencer, which is in northwest Iowa. It's a small daily, and we had a terrific staff there. We were all young people in our 20s and early 30s, all single, and we were sort of like WKRP in Cincinnati. It was just that sort of vibe, and we just loved coming to work in the morning and did all sorts of stories, not just sports. As a music critic for the paper, went to concerts at the Roof Garden in Okoboji, covered them. But I did some work that I'm proud of there. I wrote a series of about semi-pro baseball players. It became a book that was published.
And you helped write that book?
Pardon?
You helped write that book?
I wrote it myself. Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
Semi-pro.
I might have already asked you that already. Is it something that I could go on Amazon and?
Yeah, that won't be there. You'll find only two of my books on Amazon. Probably that's the last two.
What are the two books on Amazon?
It's called Sharing a Napkin, stories from 1969 to 2019, and then a book I wrote from when I spent a year in China with my wife teaching English. I've got a book called Hunan Evenings.
Wow.
That was where we lived. Hunan Evenings, Life in the Les Hills East and Elsewhere. Les Hills are in southwest Iowa. The only other Les Hills in the world are outside Beijing and Kansas.
So what year was it when you wrote this book?
Which one? Semi-pro?
Yes, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, that probably 79 or 80.
So 79 or 80. I think my Raiders had won the Super Bowl, and they've won three Super Bowls. When it was 1979, who were the champions? Who had won the Super Bowl? Who had won the World Series? Do you remember that?
I think maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates won in 79. Willie Stargell.
And then what about was Buffalo in there in the finals with Jim Kelly, or is that not happened yet? Or?
I don't think that had happened yet. That was in the early 80s, maybe.
Okay. You have
one thing we used to do in Spencer, we used to go up to Minnesota and watch the Yankees play. My publisher was a
They always take down the Twins in the playoff. Every year, in the early 2010s, like the Twins and the Yankees would meet in the playoffs in the wild card, and they'd never beat them. They could never beat them. But this year they're about right now the Twins are around $500, or they're right around 500. I know you're a big Royals fan. Tell me a little bit about how long you've been a fan, and was it really fun watching them win the series?
Oh yeah. I wasn't always a Royals fan. I grew up as a Boston Red Sox fan. My favorite player was a guy named Tony Conigliaro, who was the youngest major leaguer in history to get to 100 home runs, I think it was, but when he was still only 19 or something like that. But he had some great years, and then he got beamed by an Iowan named Jack Hamilton, and he had this horrific injury to his eye and he couldn't see, but he tried to make a comeback. He tried to come back as a pitcher, didn't happen. He had a major stroke, I believe. He was in a coma for a long time, and he died when he was about 35 years old. And he was my favorite player. But anyway, I started becoming a Royals fan probably when I lived in Kansas City in the late 80s and early 90s. I worked for Kansas City Papers, Kansas City Star, and I had a great gig there. They let me do sort of special feature stories, and one of them I did was I interviewed all the living members of the 1969 Super Bowl champion Chiefs: Lenny Dawson, Otis Taylor, so that was
Otis Taylor. That reminds me. Were you a big Otis Redding fan? You know, down by the dock of the bay. You know that song?
I know it well. I can sing it, but I'm not gonna.
I'm a big fan of. We grew up on Sly and the Family Stones.
Oh yeah.
You know, Tammy and Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
But my all-time favorite is Michael Jackson. Was he pretty big when you were around that time when you were starting?
Oh yeah, I wasn't.
You weren't really big a fan.
I was into rock, what's now called classic rock, I guess.
Def Leppard, AC/DC.
No, not that stuff. I like Steely Dan.
Nice.
People like
and
that.
Tell me about you. We mentioned this over coffee at Cafe DM. You said that your brother manages.
Yeah, my youngest brother Dana is a composer by what he did when he got into the business side of music, and he is Pat Boone's manager. For not many people know Pat Boone. He's 92 years old. He was a rock singer in the late 50s, early 60s, and my brother, he's still singing, and he sang at the Surf Ballroom a week ago last night in Clear Lake.
Wow. Did you go see him?
Sure, and he had a lot of other younger bands with him, and it was quite a special night. We went backstage and talked to him, which we've done before. So
Let's switch shifts a little bit. One of the reasons I started this podcast is that when an athlete wins a national title game, like the Ohio State Buckeyes have won recently, or when Ames High wins, or any team around anywhere in the United States, it could be Caitlin Clark winning the Big Ten championship with Iowa. The commentator, whether it's a female or a male, will always ask, "Hey, Caitlin, what do you want to say? You just want to, what's on your mind? What's the first thing you want to say?"
yeah.
And the most common thread in all the sports world is, "I'd like to thank God in my relationship with Jesus Christ." Or one of the most tragic stats, which I'll share on this channel, is that 80% of all African Americans don't have an active father in their life. So they had to get to where that point where they're holding that trophy. That is getting, like my boy Max Crosby, being at the facility at 5 o'clock in the morning, being the last one to leave, and doing that year after year after year, building that repetition, that consistency. Consistency is key. When you look at this, in your opinion, is sports the best reality TV out there?
I don't like reality TV.
Do you consider sports to be reality TV?
No, I don't
How would you
even
view
put
it?
it together. I view it as just a huge part of American culture.
Yeah.
I think it embodies a lot of the characteristics that we attribute to the American personality: hard work, perseverance, teamwork, honesty, just a lot of things that, and when those sort of values are stepped upon or something, there always seems to be some kind of consequence to it, so which I think is good. However, I think you mentioned Caitlin Clark. I really hate what's being done to her on social media. I grew up without social media, and frankly, I hate social media. What it does to people.
Yeah,
And
I don't blame you.
Clark is just a wonderful athlete.
She went to Dowling Catholic here in Iowa.
Yeah. And
have you ever seen her play?
no, just on television. I saw her. Of course, she was at Iowa. My dentist is across the street from Dowling.
Wow.
That's as close as I've gotten to her. But,
So I went to Ames High School, and I graduated in 2007. And we used to say 007. I was a big fan of GoldenEye and the 64.
Yeah.
So each kind of year they represent their name with that. So I'll talk for a little bit, and if you want to take a water break. And so we're located in Ames, Iowa. This is Ames is one of the, if you guys don't know, it's the straw poll, the very first straw poll in the entire country takes place in Ames. Iowa State University is here. We just lost Matt Campbell, bless his soul, to Penn State. We've got Tisha Aschenberger leading the Cyclones to another an amazing year. We're actually really close to their practice facility right now. What's your relationship with Iowa State, and how do you feel like, are they progressing? Are they moving in the right direction? Or what's your opinion on what Iowa State athletics?
I have a complicated relationship with Iowa State. I considered going to Iowa State when I was in high school. I was making college choices because of their journalism program. But I considered Iowa and Iowa State in a small college. I ended up going to Iowa, so I was a Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And I have 2 degrees from Iowa. I've got a master's degree in journalism from Iowa.
Wow.
Undergraduate degree in English.
Wow. And you teach, right, too, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Pardon?
Before we talked, you said you were preparing for some of your teaching.
Yeah,
You're teaching this in this semester.
Yeah. I'm teaching this fall at Iowa Central in Webster City, teaching English composition. But I basically got out of the newspaper business in the 90s, and I went to KU and got a PhD because I knew I liked teaching. I liked being in college.
In Lawrence, is that where you were at?
Where?
Lawrence,
yeah. And I saw some great basketball there.
Oh my goodness! The field house is freaking rock like crazy.
I sang in the choir at the Methodist Church, and Roy Williams sat in the front row in front of our choir.
Do you remember when they played Syracuse in the national championship game?
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony was a freshman.
Yeah.
And they beat Kansas. I'm pretty sure Syracuse did.
They did.
And Jim, what's his last name? Jim Boeheim. Is that what it is? Or he had passed away.
Oh yeah.
I think he passed away recently.
Yeah, but yeah. KU was watching the basketball there. That was great fun. And they had some Iowa people there.
So let's talk about some predictions for this year. I think Kansas and Iowa State are both very good in the Big 12 basketball program. on the football side of Kansas and Iowa State, they both have always kind of struggled, but Kansas has been playing better than ever before. You know anything about this new coach coming in, or have you looked into that? Or?
I don't. I'm not a Kansas football fan.
What about the new Iowa State head coach? Have you
I like him. I like, we were talking about Iowa State and the relationship with them. We moved to Ames a few years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. We've been living in Woodbine, came here, and I retired from teaching in Nebraska, and we came here because we have grandchildren and children here.
And you guys are having a cookout after this, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's inside, but yeah. But as I was telling you, I was always a Hawkeye fan, but moving to Ames, I slowly got into being an Iowa State fan. And I'm an Iowa State fan against everybody except Iowa.
So in the Hawks series is, I think it's in Iowa. Is it? Where's it? Iowa City this year?
Yeah, it's at Kinnick this year, I think.
Let's talk about the stadiums a little bit. So I'm a huge the Ohio State fan. Michigan actually has the biggest stadium, which is an arch rival, as everyone knows, against Ohio State. And then where Matt Campbell's going at Penn State, they have the third largest. So the three biggest stadiums in the country are in the Big Ten. Yeah. And then but Iowa State seems to be some of the most loyal fans living here in town. I have a few friends and close people that they took it very personally when Matt Campbell left. Did that affect you in any way when he left the program, or what were your thoughts on that?
Actually, it's kind of strange. My biggest reaction when he went to Penn State was thinking about what's going to happen to the people he recruited, because one of his recruits is a kid who plays 8-man football in Woodbine.
Because that's a smaller schools have to play 8-man.
Yeah, it's a very small school. His name is Landon Bloom. He's 6'5", 210 to 220.
And he's going to Iowa State?
He was recruited by Campbell, and they had a picture of him on Facebook of Campbell with Landon.
Oh, wow.
And so when
is he going to Penn State?
Yeah, he's going to Penn State. So he's following Matt to Penn State, and he still got a senior year of high school to go. Wow. So he was really
he's all about Campbell.
And he was the top D1.
Did you hear Mike Rocco Becht is also in Penn State with Matt Campbell?
So I think that's pretty exciting. So I'm going to watch Penn State.
I'm glad you're a Hawkeye fan, because in my opinion, and this can be debatable, but the Big Ten is by far the best. They're on top right now. We had Indiana win a national title with Mendoza. We had Ohio State win. We had Michigan win. Nebraska is maybe it's Oregon's turn or USC, but top to bottom, even the teams Northwestern now has Chip Kelly there.
Sure.
There's all the from top to bottom. Would you agree that the Big Ten is the best conference?
I think so. I would agree with that. And I've seen times change tremendously in the 50 years.
NIL. What are your thoughts on NIL?
I don't like it, but
what do you like about it?
It's a reality. Well, I've always thought that athletes should get paid, and I've never thought that. I've always thought that the word student athlete was a misnomer, that it wasn't true, because athletes are professionals in college as soon as they start taking money, and I always thought they should be paid for their work.
Yeah, like their jerseys, right? Like if you're going to buy a jersey, you should get.
Yeah.
So the Ohio State recently became the first university to announce that they're going to have a patch on their jersey with Chase Bank. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
So they have this. Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can put this in the comments, but Ohio State just signed a $30 million deal to wear a patch that says Chase Bank in their jerseys.
Yeah.
Is that something that is, in your opinion, is that, like, I know the NBA, for example, every single NBA team has a patch that kind of is the company that they represent. But if Ohio State's the first, obviously more will come. Is something like that with a bank and then the university receiving that money? How does that make you? Or what's your
I dislike that. I dislike that tremendously, but it's reality, and it's going to happen. So there's no use of crying over spilled milk here. I mean, NIL is here to stay, and I just hate what it does to college athletics. I hate the fact that Audie Crook, who just everybody loved.
Oh my gosh, she's the best.
Just such a great player.
She's
such
not,
a
she's
great
not with
person.
Iowa State anymore, is she?
No, she went to Oklahoma State with 8 of her teammates.
And then did you hear Momcilovic went to Kentucky?
Yeah.
And I also heard Momcilovic was the most sought after portrait, and he got, and to him it became, well, I can't speak for him personally, but if I was a young kid in his age and someone said, if you come play with me, we're arguably Kentucky's the most historical basketball program in the history of basketball, and they're telling you, Iowa State's like, we can give you X amount of dollars and Kentucky's like, we can triple that. You know, what would you? How does a young
I
kid?
hate
How does a young
that.
kid deal with that?
I wish that didn't happen. But you know, you can't blame Audie Crook. I think she got maybe $3 million
That's
maybe
crazy.
to go to Oklahoma State, and you know, she's from Algona, I believe, and I watched her in high school. And
If you're, what can you, for these NIL kids, if I'm an 18-year-old and before this I worked at Hy-Vee and I helped my dad on his farm and all of a sudden I've got
Yeah.
$3 million in my bank account,
Yeah,
what
are you
kind
gonna
of
do?
what kind of advice can you give to these people?
take the money and run.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Invest into your body, maybe. I know a lot of players like Russell Wilson, LeBron James are well known for investing over $1 million into their health and making sure they eat right. And
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of eating healthy. There's a grocery store here in town called Wheatsfield, all organic. And so I think even as outside of the athlete world, we should definitely begin to go to places like Hy-Vee here in town, amazing organic section foods. I mean, as you get older, do you find yourself eating a lot more healthier?
I find myself hoping, and I think I do, and my wife does a good job of trying to make me healthy.
Yeah.
But
So we're located. We're about halfway through our podcast. We're going to shift gears and get back onto Max a little bit. And here, Max, you said you consider yourself to be the Bob. Is it Uecker?
Uecker.
Bob
Yeah.
Uecker of sports writing. Who is Bob Uecker?
Oh, he was a mediocre baseball player. Yeah.
Mediocre with the name Uecker.
Mediocre Uecker. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a 200 lifetime batting average, which is
Jeez.
terrible. But he's hung around because of his personality.
And what teams did he play for?
Played for the Cardinals, played for a half dozen other teams. But
And have you been? You said your loyalty was to the Royals, not a.
yeah,
was there
and I
another
wasn't a
team that-
fan of his. I just liked his. He became a great. He was a.
Like he never quit. Is kind
No.
of what you liked about
But he
it?
became a broadcaster. He was a great broadcaster. He broadcast Milwaukee. He was a Milwaukee guy, and so he broadcast Milwaukee Brewers. And I think he died just a couple of years after.
Have you heard that the Chiefs got approved to build a new stadium?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on? Let's get back into the sports world a little bit and talk about something present. We have a TV on the side here that's going on. The NFL season's about to start. The preseason's getting off. Caitlin Clark and the Fever are doing really good. So we'll kind of give a recap. The NBA's in the off season. The UFC just had a huge event at the White House. So there's all these things going on with sports. Like outside of when football is not on, do you shift gears to baseball, or is football your main? Is that your favorite?
No,
or what's your favorite sport?
Probably football, baseball, and college basketball. I don't
In that
watch
order?
NBA.
You know what?
I don't watch it till the
Till the
finals. Yeah, till the playoffs. I watch the WNBA. I'm
More?
a huge Fever fan, Clark fan.
What are your thoughts on what Caitlin Clark has done for women's sports in general? More, not just WNBA.
I think
women's sports.
I think it's been tremendous. She just didn't pop out of the
Yeah.
blue. There's
Yeah.
been a long 100-year history of women's sports in Iowa. Actually, that goes back to the late 1890s.
Yeah. Tell me what happened in the 1890s.
Well, when men's basketball was invented by Naismith in Massachusetts in 1891-92, 6 months later, a woman up the road invented a game for girls, except at the time...
Are you saying the history of women's basketball started in the state of Iowa?
No, but it was very
Huge impact.
huge impact because of 6-player basketball. We were the only...
And they couldn't cross the court, right? They had to have defense and an offense.
They can't cross the court. They can only dribble twice. They can't tie the ball up.
And only certain people can shoot, is that right?
Yeah, only forwards can shoot. So when you think about it, that's a huge problem for high school girls who want to play college basketball, who are great guards, but they've never shot. And so what happened was in early 80s, some girl from southern Iowa, she sued the Iowa State Girls Athletic Union, saying that she was being cheated out of getting college scholarship because she didn't know how to shoot the ball. And but 6-player was the most popular sport for girls in American history for the whole 20th century. Everybody who was anybody in basketball, 5-player basketball, AU teams, they all came from Iowa.
Wow.
And
did you cover some of this in your sports journalism?
That's my main gig, yeah. I mean, that was my main book, was my book about 6-player girls basketball is called...
The semi-pro.
No. It's a book called The Only Dance in Iowa. History of Iowa Six-Player Basketball.
And you wrote this book?
Yes, I've written 6 books, and that was my most popular one. It was published by the University of Nebraska Press, and they did a great job of promoting it. I went around to TV, radio, and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, Six-Player was so big that they had their own television station in the mid-50s. So when Runa Arledge from ABC Sports came and wanted to broadcast the Iowa Six-Player Girls Basketball Tournament, they said, thanks, but no thanks. We already got TV here in Iowa. So
what was TV like? I mean, for our young viewers, like, was it a big box? Did you watch it in a big, like a drive-in movie theater? How did you watch TV? Was it on a?
Wow, you make me feel really old, and you are really young.
I'm 38 years old.
You are
so
young.
I'm young, but when I was younger, we had these big. My first TV was this big box TV, and you had to click. You had to
That's
turn
what
it
you
on.
do. So you've only got 3 networks. So if you want to change the TV, you got to get up. You didn't have a remote.
What were the networks?
ABC, NBC, and CBS. So
Okay.
you had to get up and change the channel if you wanted to change. You had black and white. You know, it was Mary Tyler Moore show. It was Dick Van Dyke. It was
And what about like late night with
Johnny Carson?
And then tell me a little bit about like as a sport that you wake up and you're about to cover a certain event. You know, what do you do to prepare yourself for that event? Do you have notes prepared? Do you have your own knowledge you rely on, or like is there a set of? You mentioned I want to share a little bit about that. Life has been a journey for both of us, and we're not going to get into that. But like, in order for you to get to a place and sit down and watch a game, did you have to prepare a bunch of things beforehand?
It depends on what level you're talking about. When I'm covering girls basketball in Woodbine, Iowa, I don't have to do any work ahead of time. Of course, this was before you had phones and you could do any research. However, when it got to be, I was working in Kansas City in the late 90s, when I had to research the 69 Super Bowl Chiefs, I had to go to the morgue in the library, where the morgue is where they keep all the old newspapers, and watch microfiche.
It's called the morgue?
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what that is.
No worries.
So you have to do research. I'd go to the morgue and study. Do you know what microfiche is?
I've never heard of that.
Microfiche is film that you roll through a machine and you see images. It's like photography.
Could it compare to? Is that kind of like when I was in high school? We'd go to like a black room where we'd take the photos and develop them. Is this something that you could watch on a reel? Would you look at on a reel and it would go on a reel?
Yeah. It's like on a reel, and so you could, but you read text that way. So let's say I wanted to look at a copy of the 1965 Kansas City Star.
You had to do that. The only way to do that was
you have to go get the microfiche for it, and then
so you probably spent a lot of times in these.
You had to do a lot of research. You know, I spent time when I was at KU. I spent a lot of time doing research for basketball. I spent 7 years interviewing girls and old women who played 6-player basketball. I drove around Iowa for 7 years.
Wow.
And interviewing all these people.
When you were driving around Iowa, what was your car? What was it?
I had a Volkswagen, a Bug.
Bug?
Yeah. And
I've always been a fan of. One of my dreams is to get a Shelby GT500 Mustang.
Yeah. I had a Mustang.
You like Mustangs?
I had a Mustang at one time. I had a 78.
I drive a Honda Element right now, and they only made them for a little bit of time. Before I came here, I went to Salvation Army, and I needed a table for this setup. And I put my seats down, put this table in upside down, and hauled it up here. You know, so like I feel like the cars that were made like in your time, and then when I was becoming to what we have now, it's like what we can shift gears a little bit here, but and tie it back into sports, but the evolution of technology.
Not before I tell you that I also had a 1962 Corvair,
Ooh.
where the engine was in the back.
Where's that one? Did you have to sell it or?
Oh, I put it in a ditch 3 hours after I got it for $500 in 1970. It was a 62.
And what color? What color
was it? White. It was a white Corvair.
What about the interior?
It was red. And
they
were called Unsafe at Any Speed. Ralph Nader. Have you ever heard of Ralph Nader?
I know Ralph Nader is. Yeah.
Wrote a book called Unsafe at Any Speed.
He was you in the U.S. Senate for a long time, is that right?
Yeah, well, he was I don't know what you would call him.
He was a presidential candidate. He
was.
He ran for president almost on every docket for 20 years.
Yeah, but he wrote a book focused on the Unsafe at Any Speed, which was a 62 Corvair.
Yeah. So,
We digress.
let's get back to kind of the purpose of this. Why we're starting this podcast is to introduce our main theme is that God belongs in the sports media, and that's what this podcast. We're developing a name still for the podcast, but by the time you watch this on Monday when we go live on August 17th, we'll be launching this. So I'm just mentioning this for you guys that are just seeing this for the first time, so you get a little background. But we want to introduce the fact that God is a big part of the sports world, and a lot of adversity and overcome. People come from tremendous trial. One of my all-time favorite athletes is Allen Iverson. He went to Georgetown, and he played with Ray Allen, who came in a little bit later. But his story, there's a documentary out there that talks about his life growing up, and it was tremendous trials. He never won a title, but he did lead the NBA in scoring many times. He's famous for this step over the Clippers coach, Drew.
John Thompson?
No.
Who are you talking about?
He coached the Cavaliers too. You can leave it in the comments because we're forgetting about it, but we'll keep moving on. There's a scene where Allen Iverson hits this fadeaway, and it's Ty Lue. Ty Lue's his name. He was the coach for the Cavs, but anyway, in Allen Iverson's Hall of Fame speech that he had recently, he thanked all the guys that had took him down this bad road but that was necessary for him to sell drugs, to be a drug addict. You know, I'm a drug addict. I have been my whole life, and I don't mind admitting that. But I'm now in recovery, and that's where I'm at. But to get back to the point is that Allen Iverson went through this extreme trials, and he became arguably one of the greatest basketball players to ever play in the NBA. So that's kind of our focus, is to focus on that. In order to get to a place, like you said, Caitlin Clark, she didn't just get to where she's at. She was probably shooting hoops at her parents' farm over thousands and thousands of shots. Have you seen the movie Hoosiers with Gene Hackman?
Sure.
So what were some of the big sports movies that were impacting you guys? Did you watch were you part of when Lake Placid, when the U.S. finally won the U.S. hockey back then?
Oh yeah.
Like that? What was that like in the U.S. when that happened?
I can remember, that was one of those events where you can remember what you were doing when it happened. I was on a Sunday morning in Spencer, Iowa in 1980, had the TV on. Yeah. I just remember when that U.S. beating Russia, and that was one of those events that you remember.
And were we involved in the Cold War at that time, or?
Yeah.
And the space race was going on, or did that already happen? Or?
Yeah, it was.
And I think a lot of people forget that the very first man in space was actually Russian, Yuri Gagarin.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
So
well, after we landed on the moon in '69, everything
changed.
Well, they didn't go any further for a long time. You know, we didn't do anything for a long time. But before we're talking about God in sports a little bit. I just wanted to, whenever I think of that topic, I think of the event that happened in the early '70s when Alvin Dark had coached the Athletics, I think, to in Oakland for three straight championships, I think, or
they won the World Series.
They won two or three. They're in the World Series anyway, 2 or 3 times. Anyway, he had passed out Bibles. He was from South Carolina. He was sort of an evangelist, and he passed out Bibles to his players, to his teams, and they won the World Series. I mean, you know, you can say what you want about that, but didn't hurt. So what happens? Charlie Finley, who was the devil himself, fired Alvin Dark for passing out Bibles to his baseball team.
And after they won the series?
Yes, because Finley thought that it was going to mess with their minds, mess with their brains.
If anything, it helped them. In a good way, it helped them. So.
That shows you that was, at that time, that was I think kind of a controversial thing, and people did not give credit to God as easily as they do today on television. As you say, everybody gets on and want to thank God for this and that. And I feel like it's pretty unusual.
Each year, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but each year it seems to be a little bit more, you know, like you hear the name of Jesus, or you hear someone say that, even from a Muslim faith or a Buddhist faith or from a Judaism faith, it's becoming more and more that people can feel comfortable to share who they recognize as their God on television. I mean, is that something you've noticed, a trend of how, like you said, like in the 70s until 2026, like, are you seeing more and more people just being able to be like, because not only in sports but in our culture, everything is more accepted. how you identify yourself as a human or whatever that is. Like, it seems like there's a lot more respect and actually more of a need to give God the credit, because without him, none of this would be here today. I mean, what all these things I'm saying, like, what are some comments or your thoughts on that? Or?
Well, I'm just thinking, what did Kaepernick, when he took a knee, what was that? Kaepernick. What was he doing that
So
for?
Colin Kaepernick, he played college football at the University of Nevada.
Right.
He was
He was
Kyle
maybe a Mormon.
Shanahan. They took him out. I think he was. I don't know if he was with BYU, but when he got drafted, he played in Nevada too.
Yeah.
But he took a knee because at the time, Black Lives Matter was a big deal.
That's
there was a
right.
shooting up in Minneapolis.
That's right.
And a lot of people, they were saying Black Lives Matter, but every lives matter. But like, this is a chance for the Black community to finally have a voice to stand up to this. We live in a very, the history of America is through racism, and you can only have, women can only go on the bus here and there, and all these things. It's
Right.
like, and the thing that's kind of sad is that the only advancement that African Americans are having is whether you're a rapper, whether you play sports, so it's like for Kaepernick to have that faith and for teams to not even give him a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think in 2026 that would be different?
I think so. I think that's more acceptable. I don't think he would get the terrible attention that he got at the time for taking a knee 7 or 8 years later, when it is when he did it. Because I think people are more accepting of that kind. There's no reason why.
That's a lot of faith for him. He's putting his whole career in jeopardy, but to him it didn't matter,
Yeah, in 1968 in Mexico City, the Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos
and then
raised their fists, and you would have thought they would have murdered somebody.
And then I think, tell me what year this was, but when Jesse Owens ran, and
it was in 1936. He ran at the Olympics in front of Hitler.
And he broke. He ran for the Ohio State. I don't know if he ran. He's from Ohio. He's an Ohio State guy, but he broke almost every world record that Olympics. And then there was the scene also so things like the Black Panthers became big, and then Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, these great African American athletes in our history. To me, I kind of identify these guys like in today's world in 2026. You got LeBron James, Kobe Bryant tragically passed away, but he's having a tremendous impact on that. But I would say on the NFL side, since we're transitioning to NFL side soon, some of the bigger athletes in there. I'm a big Raiders fan, and I know you're a big Kansas guy. So, what are your thoughts on like what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have been able to do? Do you think they have a chance to win again just because he's the quarterback, or?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he can get back to the level he was at.
Because a knee surgery can really throw someone off.
Yeah, he can. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not able to perform at the level he has.
Yeah.
But I really hope he does. And as I've talked to you about, I am sort of a secret Raiders fan, because in 1972 I worked for the Raiders. Some friends and I lived in Berkeley, California.
Yeah. And this is when they were in Los Angeles?
What?
Because they moved to Los Angeles, or were they in Oakland at this
No,
time?
they were in Oakland in 72, and they needed gate watchmen for their preseason games at UCal Stadium in Berkeley. So some friends and I got jobs doing that. Didn't get paid much, but we got to go to the games, and we're talking about race a little bit. There would be this was right near Oakland, and right near the ghetto in Oakland. And I would let black kids into the stadium if I would turn my back and let them come in. I actually lost my job as a gate watchman because
of that?
Yeah, because I was letting kids in, and then my supervisor saw me doing that. But
the Caucasian kids were walking in just fine?
They had tickets. Okay, these black kids didn't have tickets to get in, and I thought, this is their team, and they should be able to go to a preseason game and watch their team play.
Yeah.
So, I let them in.
And then, do you know much about like the connection with NWA? Like, have you heard of that band before? It's Ice Cube. Ice Cube.
No, I don't know that. So, I know Ice Cube.
Yeah. So he's a huge Raiders fan. Fernando Mendoza was the #1 draft pick out of Indiana. Some could argue that he had the greatest college football career in one season. He went undefeated, won the Heisman.
Who was that you're talking about?
Fernando Mendoza.
Oh yeah, Mendoza. Sure.
So he was at the University of Cal before that. Yeah. He actually studied Kirk Cousins' film when he was at Cal, and now he's a Raider. He's got Tom Brady to have breakfast with and Max Crosby to work out with.
It's a great day to be a Raider.
In your opinion, like, are they going to be a playoff team this year, a wild card team? Or?
Of course, I think there's no way they're gonna have a losing record.
Yeah.
I
And
don't think
what makes you say that?
well, you got Mendoza. I mean, look what Mendoza did at Indiana. They have Max Crosby back.
Yeah,
And
nice.
they
Good
have,
name.
yeah, nice name. And their centers in Iowa, man.
Lindenbaum,
Hawkeye,
yeah.
Lindenbaum.
And then they really, for the first time, Mark Davis has given over control to
Yeah.
other people. So
Yeah.
having if I'm Fernando Mendoza, and I get to spend time with Brady one-on-one each
Yeah.
week, I mean that's gonna happen.
It's got to be
huge, right?
It's got to be healthy.
And
for
then
him.
a workhorse. There's people around the league know that Max Crosby's motor is unmatched. He's
Yeah.
at the facility. He's got his own podcast. He's in recovery. You know let's switch gears a little bit. Like what are your thoughts on adversity? Like if guys that like Crosby who are openly trying to work on their addictions, and you know that's somewhere I've been at before. You know when someone has that kind of history behind them, it really elevates their game. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, once they recover and they remain in recovery,
Yeah.
that tends to really help them
Because
out.
they've got a daily routine every day that
Yeah.
he's there when they open, he's there when they close. And
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? I don't know if you know much about this, but can you give me your opinion on we're going to be wrapping up here in the next 5 minutes
Yeah.
or so, but like in 2026, how would you compare the sports world to when you were my age? You know, I'm 38. What was it like compared to now?
Let's see, 38, I'm 74.
Yep, so that'd be
So 38, 48,
36.
26 years.
26?
So 26.
26, yep.
I was your age 26 years ago, which would have been, what year would that have been?
So
It's
it's
70.
It's 26 now, so that'd be in the year 2000.
Yeah, in the year 2000.
The Y2K bubble, right?
Yeah, right. I lost my train of thought. What would
So
you ask me?
So in the year 2000,
Oh.
I believe Tom Brady came in pretty close to this. I'm not sure in the exact, but the NBA had just seen Michael Jordan retire.
Right.
You know, the Cowboys and the Steelers and the Niners dominated the 90s for the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, there's this new guy, Brady, that was
Yeah.
out of Michigan, and now he's considered the greatest player of all time. I don't know if there'll be a debate for that, but like
Yeah.
in 2000 to 2026, like what's the biggest difference you see in sports?
Well, the money thing, and the physicality in sports is
Yeah, like the
much
pad.
more. Yeah, which is really great in some ways. It's
You got a lot of season or career-ending injuries because
Yeah.
of that too. And
you think back, and people still have career injuries. I think of Joe Theismann, his
Yeah.
terrible.
Or Bo Jackson, right?
Yeah, Bo Jackson.
Huge injury.
Yeah, and his looked to be minor when it happened. It was just
Yeah.
a minor.
Some could argue that he was on pace to become a Hall of Famer in two sports,
Yeah.
which has never done
I
before.
believe.
And there's guys like Travis Hunter who are trying to play two ways, and Kyler Murray, who's the Vikings quarterback
Yeah.
starter. I'm going to be watching the Ravens-Vikings game August 22nd at noon, and Kyler Murray is named the starter for the Vikings. So to kind of wrap up my question back to that, it's like the money is a big difference, and you said like the injuries, but like has the quality of the game increased at all, or?
Oh, I think so. I think in all sports, really. I mean, just look at. It just seems like it's.
So they have like
These are
small,
better.
the pads are more better, like the technology.
Yeah.
I've heard that they
Yeah.
have these gloves that
Yeah,
basically
it's-
the ball sticks to the gloves.
There's so many weird stuff going on with
The smelling salts, have you seen guys do that?
Yeah, well, quarterbacks, what they got on their wrists, all that kind of stuff. Used to be you write plays on a hand or
They
whatever.
didn't have they have headsets in their
Yeah,
helmets.
yeah. I mean, that's amazing. But then I think about baseball, watching the
The-
Field of Dreams the other night. They mic different players, and it's amazing that Brandon Marsh can stand in the outfield and concentrate on playing
Yeah.
baseball while he's talking into a
Yeah.
mic for live television. But so that's amazing. But you were talking about the pads, like in football. That's an amazing thing that you look at a football player now, and they don't really have any knee pads on. I say, how can they not wear knee pads anymore?
Yeah.
But you know
It
that.
like slows them down, extra weight,
Yeah, well, there's some reason for it, but particularly the receivers, they don't really have any shoulder pads
Yeah.
on. It's like they're playing without any pads.
These NFL
It's
linemen,
amazing.
the crazy thing I've never had it explained to me, but every defensive NFL lineman has a brace already on their knee, like it's like to protect them because they're in that position half the game. But if you actually watch and you look at every single offensive lineman on any football field, they've got braces on their knees.
Yeah.
That's got to be some reason. And then I want to focus on Iowa sports for the last few minutes.
Okay.
Tyrese Halliburton is coming in October 7th. He's going to be in Ames in a preseason game with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves have a farm team, you can call them, in Iowa, in the Casey Center.
Luka Garza
Yep.
played for him.
Yep, Luka Garza, great Hawkeye, one of the best ever to play at the Hawkeyes. I think he was on the
Yes.
Boston Celtics last year.
Yeah.
And but Caitlin Clark, so for women's sports, you got Caitlin, she's from Iowa. Tyrese Halliburton led the Indiana Pacers against the Oklahoma City Thunder to a Game 7. It looks like they were going to take the whole thing, and he tears his Achilles within a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then you also have Cael Sanderson, arguably the greatest, if not the greatest wrestler ever in college wrestling history. He's now at Penn State with Matt Campbell. So there seems to be a trend there. And then there's also rumors that, guys like, we got to hold on to TJ. What would you be telling Iowa State? Like, this guy needs to be here until, like, a Johnny Orr kind of coach, like, he needs to retire here. So, like, if I'm Jamie Pollard, how do I pitch to TJ Oschenberger? Like, what do I say to this guy so he doesn't leave like Campbell did or Sanderson? Like, how do we, because we're kind of restarting the realm and the wrestling and the basketball. And we've got guys like Bill Finley, which there's a lot of controversy there. But, like, how do we retain this great coach we have in TJ? What would you tell Pollard to tell TJ? I mean, is there any advice that just keep doing your thing? Or?
Yeah, I don't do anything different. I mean, he seems to be really succeeding with the way things are going now.
He consistently has us in the top of the Big 12 every year.
Why?
And then
we change horses at midstream.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
So next week we're gonna have another podcast. This we're recording this at a different time. Every Monday around 3:33 Central Time, we will upload this podcast and this video to all platforms. Max is my first guest. We're gonna call this episode 1, Sports Journalism, with Max McCallum. Is that McElwain. My apologies. Max also has the greatest name because my favorite player in the whole world is Devil Max. Max is M-A-X, but Max Crosby is M-A-X-X. His mom was actually, when he came out of the womb, she said, let's just add another X on there. He's already such a big player. So,
really?
And then I just want to come forward and say, like, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Las Vegas Raiders are my teams, and we're planning on each week to discuss a new topic with a new person, have a different sports perspective. So I just wanted to tell you thank you, Max, for being on the show, and we're looking forward to see where this goes. But just want to say thank you. So
yeah, it's been an honor, Fitz. It's really been.
Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
Oh boy, I need to go home and take a nap after
Sounds
this.
good. I need to take one too, but thank you so much, guys.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
good time.
Best of luck with this. I think
thank you.
It's a great thing. So I think you'll do well.
Awesome.
See ya.